Going live. Okay, Hangouts live. Hi, everybody. My name is David Cole. I'm with CV2. It's 1 p.m. California time. We are here with a Google Hangout about girls in STEM. We've got a great collection of people here for a conversation. I'm a moderator of the Google Plus site for 21st Century Notebooking and one of the collaborators and creators of that project. And I work with Bridget Rigby from NEXMAP. And together we talk to all kinds of interesting people. And today we're going to talk with a wonderful group of women on girls in STEM. Bridget's going to lead the call. And I'm a moderator, so I'm going to be on the side and let Bridget take over from here. Bridget?
Wonderful. Well, thank you, David, and welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here, all of our stellar Girls in STEM partners gathered. Many of us were together recently at the Tech Museum for the Ada Lovelace Girls' Day celebration, where we got to collaborate on a really cool paper circuitry project, which we will share a little bit more about in a moment. But I'd love to start just by having everybody kind of go through and introduce yourself, share a little bit about who you are, where you do your Girls in STEM work currently, and any great stuff that you want to share from the past. And then it'd be great to start off by also just sharing a little something of why you're personally driven to get more girls into STEM learning. So who would like to start?
I'll start.
Thanks, Anne.
Hi, my name is Anne Mayoral. My background is aerospace engineering and industrial design. I've practiced engineering for 12 years and really saw a disproportionate number of men to women, and at the time I really wanted to encourage women to get more involved in engineering and science because I feel like there's a lot of good ideas that we can bring to the table. And so it led me down a path of trying to get into exhibit design and hands-on museums, and that kind of led me into industrial design to get some exhibit experience, and lo and behold, I feel like I've come full circle, kind of merging education, learning with industrial design and engineering, and so I take on a bunch of different fun projects that encourage girls and just people in general to get more involved in making and kind of explore the world around us in a very hands-on type of way. So that's what I do.
Cool. All right, who's up next?
I can go next. So my name is Prinda Wanakule. I'm at the Tech Museum of Innovation. I am the manager of educational programs and prototyping. So I work on both the education and the exhibits teams, helping to bring a lot of hands-on activities and hands-on exhibit experiences to the museum floor with an emphasis on design challenge learning. So kind of my background, I was actually a research engineer before I made the leap into STEM education, and I like the rest of the team here, I saw the huge disparity, and I thought that was a very interesting engineering design problem that we could design solutions for. So I left the engineering world and I joined the education field, and I'm very excited to be leading a lot of these initiatives here at the Tech.
Thanks, Brenda. And Sam, you made it. Are we going to be able to hear you?
I hope so. Am I? Hey, okay. I'm on my phone, so my computer didn't work. Are we introducing ourselves? Yeah. I'm sorry, I missed the last.
You probably missed that part. So yes, so just your kind of where you do your girls in STEM work, any things from the past you'd love to share, and then just what personally drives you to get more girls into STEM.
My path's slightly different. I worked at the YWCA and took over their Tech Girls program, which was a very traditional girls in STEM program, and I was fortunate enough to be able to transition it into a full maker program. So my passion, I've always been an educator, but my passion with girls in STEM really came from my experience with Tech Girls. I am currently working with a couple different school districts to launch Young Makers programs, and in that, we've discovered that it doesn't matter whether you are working with underserved populations or wherever you may be, that girls tend to not come to STEM workshops and STEM training opportunities as much as boys do. So we are going to be launching separate girls initiatives in 2 of the school districts, really targeting bringing girls into making and engineering. So I'm really happy to be back with so many of you who I've been talking about pink and girls in STEM with for a few years now. So thank you.
You know, many of us worked together for a Power and Perils of Pink panel at Maker Faire a few years back, so that was really fun.
I can go next. Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Chang. I work with Maker Ed as its Director of Programs, and we get to work really closely with educators and organizations across the country to start and sustain making in what they're doing as part of their school programs, as part of their school classes, as part of museum or library programming, all across the board, and certainly with youth and community-based organizations as well. My background is actually, well, I say that my background is in biomedical engineering. To be perfectly honest, I have spent throughout my lifetime much less time in biomedical engineering than education now, and I think that's part of my impetus for getting more girls into STEM, because in my personal experience, I don't think I really understood what biomedical engineering or biomedical engineers did before I actually entered the field. And so part of what I care about is just exposing girls and everyone else more to what it really means to be a science or an engineer or an artist or a writer, and have them experience that as part of their learning and growth, which is why it's all very exciting to me.
Wonderful.
There, I'm unmuted. Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Kristan Hutchison. I work at Rocket Science right now, but I've been doing work with STEM and kids for about 5 years. Before that, I was a journalist. And I like working with all the kids, but it's really fun when you get some girls excited into that area that they haven't been excited in before. So I try to do as much of that as I can.
Wonderful. And I'll share, I'm Bridget Rigby, so I'm working with David now on NEXMAP, which is an amazing paper circuitry project, which is a really cool combination that I think fits really well with girls, so I'll share more about that later. But before this, I was learning director at the Tech Museum and South Bay Air director at Galileo Learning, so I love innovation learning and have watched so many girls get turned on to these subjects and just been tinkering for many years with how to bring kind of the creative side into the STEM subjects. My personal passion and what I studied in college was mathematics, but I saw it from this very creative side, and I really wanted more people in the world to get to experience that, because that isn't always the way you get to experience it in school. So I think there's something powerful in it that really taps into both sides of your brain and gets your logic and your creativity going. It's kind of the mindset building that is so important, not just to succeed in STEM subjects, but just to be able to kind of design and live a life that you love, where you're playing out your passions and you're happy and successful and fulfilled. So I feel like there's something about the STEM subjects that are really good at, particularly good at developing that mindset. So obviously I don't want anyone, and especially girls, to miss out on that experience. So that's a little bit more about what drives me in all of this. I had the pleasure long ago of launching Sally Ride Science Camp with Galileo as well, where we got to really focus on getting girls more into the STEM subjects, which was amazing. Lots of fun stuff at the Tech as well. So it's especially awesome to be back at the Tech recently, my old stomping ground, with so many of you. And we're going to spend a little time kind of talking through the value and a little bit more of our drive of getting girls in STEM. And then I know everybody here has kind of we'll share some projects as well that they have been working on or might be working on currently that we feel are kind of particularly great for getting girls into STEM. So first, I'd just love to talk about kind of some of the high-level stuff. So what do you all you girls think about, like, why do this? What's really the value? If we can get more girls into STEM, there's so much talk about getting, obviously there's male domination in the STEM fields. There's all these different things that we're tracking, and really, when we think about it, what makes that worth it? What's going to be the impact on the girls themselves, on, you know, the world, on the STEM fields? What are your thoughts around that?
I think exposure to the STEM fields is key, just on the highest level to broaden anybody's horizons, but in particular women and girls, to really show them what they can do. You know, by providing them the full scope and full breadth of occupations out there, you let them make an educated choice in their careers. And without knowing what's out there, they're going to have a more limited view of what they can choose from. And so, you know, first of all, you're just exposing them to all the opportunities that they might be interested in. But kind of on a more practical level, you teach also some really crucial problem-solving skills and design thinking and process thinking skills that you know, will serve them well regardless of what they go into, regardless of what career they choose, or and they can apply it throughout their lives. And so I feel like there's a real value in just exposure and learning how to think in a very kind of problem-solving, methodical, out-of-the-box way, and just being able to introduce creativity into whatever field that they want to choose. And I think, lastly, on a personal level, it's empowering, right? It gives them a sense of, I can do, versus limiting their abilities, and really showing them their full spectrum of capabilities where they might not otherwise really push themselves to try those areas. So I think it serves them well on many levels.
Agreed.
I would echo everything that Anne has said, and also mention that, you know, I think girls' voices are really important to contribute to the whole conversation, and it's wonderful to have more perspectives and more insights and more experience as part of the whole equation. So as women become scientists and engineers and enter the technology industry and play a role, they're bringing in perspectives that might not have been heard in the past, and that's a really important aspect towards equity and equality, and just understanding how we can create solutions and products and tools that serve everyone's needs. So it's important for the world at large as well.
I want to second that in particular. I think that it's been found that women tend to be solution-oriented and trying to solve the problems in their communities. And so the more girls we get into the fields where they may be able to really create lasting and technical solutions, then maybe the more that technology will be used in ways that will really help the world. Not that men don't do that, but they toll half the world, so let's get them involved.
Other thoughts on the big picture impact? I think those are some very, very good reasons to start with, so we can jump right in. Well, I'd love to, we're going to talk a little bit more, but I'd love to share just a few pictures from our Girls' Day at the Tech, where we did our paper circuitry project. So I'll just kind of highlight that really quickly before we launch into more conversation. All right, so so we all gathered at the Tech. Prinda threw an amazing party focused on programming in honor of Ada Lovelace on 10/10, and we all got together and kind of came up with a paper circuitry project that we thought would particularly appeal to girls, and it was so amazing to get to work with so many girls. I have a lot of pictures that I'll show you, and we wanted to kind of tie it into something meaningful happening in their lives. So rather than just having them create whatever they wanted on the front of the cards, we tried to really get them thinking about something that they wanted to create for themselves, something that they wanted to do in the world, something that they wanted to be. And maybe this was a goal of something big that they wanted to, you know, be when they grew up or do far in the future, or maybe it was just something simple that they wanted to do, you know, the next day. So I made an example just because I really want to get a dog at this moment. So this was my kind of plan to take a step towards getting a dog. So I created the dog and kind of drew the picture on the front, and then this was just kind of our prototype that Kristan and I got together at her house, and we did some prototypes here. So did a very simple circuit, but we built in programming logic, so and or gates. So we wanted the girls to start thinking about, you know, is this something that that I'm going to have to take a couple steps to really meet this goal? What kind of things am I going to have to do along the way? Or what are some different components of my goal or my dream? When it happens, what's it going to look like? So just for fun, I couldn't decide whether I wanted a Bernese Mountain Dog or an Australian Shepherd. So I built in an AND gate. So if you press either button, the Bernese Mountain Dog button on the front, nothing happens. If you press the Australian Shepherd button, nothing happens. But if you press them both at the same time and complete the circuit, the name tag lights up. So this was a very just simple example, whoops, that that we had to kind of show the girls, and then we started brainstorming and ideating with them to think about what they wanted to do or create or get in their life. So we had them at the drawing table here. They could choose between an AND gate or an OR gate, depending on their goal, and we kind of talked them through. And they had to think about how to strategically set up their drawing to make that work with the circuit inside of the card. So you'll see a couple girls working on their pictures here. Here's a girl down here that wanted to be, I think, a singer and a chef. So she's created a life where she gets to pursue either path or potentially even combine them and be a singing chef. So this was just a kind of a view of all of us working. Once they drew their pictures, they went to the circuit table where they learned how to make the circuits and build in the gates. We have a couple just completed pictures here of the girls and even some of their moms that did it along with them. And so everybody's really just showing a lot of pride in their work. They got so creative, and then it's so amazing in the moment when also your dream starts lighting up. So we just wanted to kind of send them away with some new paper circuitry skills, some kind of computational thinking and computational creativity, and just some empowerment towards taking a step towards something that they want to achieve in their life. So these are some more pictures of some girls with their dads that got into it. This was one of my favorites. This was a girl that wanted to pursue a dream to be a lawyer, but she also loves playing violin. So she built in, I believe, the AND gates where she was going to do both and combine it so she could be a violin-playing lawyer and kind of start playing music to create the dramatic feel in the courtroom to kind of woo the jury to her side. And I think she even drew some of the legal scales at the bottom. So she kind of combined the legal scales and the musical scales. So we just saw some girls getting really creative with the kind of goals that they might see for themselves, but also with the circuitry involved. So I'm going to stop screen sharing for a moment here. Can everybody see everybody again?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. So that's just a little view. For those of you that were at the event, any other favorite moments from Girls' Day? Anything else you want to share about what you saw in terms of that project kind of lighting up girls' enthusiasm for science?
I actually have some photos for an overview of the entire day, so I can do a little share about that. So I guess very cool. I can see myself on Bridget's screen. So just very quickly, we at the Tech got a founding grant from the Junior League of Palo Alto to really bring this dream to life. So when I was working with Bridget, 2 years ago at the Tech, we were so into girls and we wanted to make these events happen, but we just we didn't have the momentum behind it, and there were just other things that we were doing to engage girls. And so it was really great to finally get that huge push from the Junior League and their big initiatives on getting girls involved to really push us to the edge and make it happen for us. So we actually have a grant with them to do 3 different events per year. So this one was our very first kickoff event. And so I'd encourage you to read the article that was linked in the San Jose Mercury News. That was the op-ed that really talked about the way that we're trying to approach getting girls engaged in STEM, which is more of a creative problem-solving approach. So I'm going to go ahead and start screen sharing, and we'll go over some photos to give you an idea of what was going on with the day. Okay, so we had tons of activities happening, and so this one was one of our favorite activities. It's cupcake delivery, and we were really inspired by this book about Ada Lovelace, and it talked a lot about how, as a kid, she was really into wind-powered devices. So we made this wind-powered contraption activity where they were channeling their inner Adas and making their own wind-powered contraption. So seeing how, you know, doing these types of activities when you're younger can lead you on and take you on your next step in becoming the next awesome programmer like Ada Lovelace. We had other partners come out. So this is Light Up. This is Josh Chan from Light Up. And he's working with some girls on with their new Edison kit, which is actually programmable with a little circuit kit. Wonder Workshop also came out, and they brought Dash and Dot, and they released a brand new app where you can program the robots to do whatever they want. So these girls are getting familiar with the robots and learning how to program them through a maze. We had a couple of workshops on the side. So this is a workshop called Shadow Stories with our corporate partner, Benesse. So what they're actually doing is, if you've ever been to the Exploratorium in their tinkering studio, they do the shadow play sort of activity. But we did a little tech spin on it where you're actually programming things to move within your shadow story. So it's kind of like a programmable shadow puppet theater. It was super fun. So here's what the girls look like when they're working on their activities. Tanaya Hurst from Rogue Making came out and did a lot of wearable tech, awesome bling, and got girls really excited about other girly endeavors they could follow to get involved in tech. And I was really excited that we were able to do like public drop-in soldering. So we did a kind of a mashup with paper circuits, but then you soldered your paper circuits there. So that was super, super fun.
Hashtag girls who solder.
Hashtag girls who solder, yeah. So we also had this amazing illustrator who put together that book, Ada Lovelace and the Thinking Machine. So her name is April Chu. She was an architect before, and she did an amazing talk about the creative process and how studying STEM really has helped her in her career. So even though she studied architecture, she's now decided to become an illustrator, and how a lot of the STEM values of perseverance and, you know, following your dreams and trying really hard and, you know, not being afraid to just jump in and do things has really helped her succeed in her career. Tech Shop also came out. Tech Shop also came out and did like a puzzles and laser activity. So they were teaching kids how to use the laser cutter, and so they were making their own puzzles. And one thing that was really exciting for me was we were able to bring in a lot of corporate volunteers for this role model lunch. So a lot of women from different companies all across the Bay Area came out, and they signed up as volunteers to sit down with the girls over lunch and just really one-on-one mentor them through their career, really talking about where they started from and where they are now and how they can get to where they are. So that's the photos I have. And I guess we'll give it back to you guys.
That was a great overview of the day. Thanks, Prinda. Cool. And then for those of you that were, Prinda, you were everywhere that day, right? Engaged in all those different activities. And for those of you that were at the circuitry, the paper circuitry booth, do you guys have any kind of favorite thoughts? Favorite girls you worked with? Favorite innovations they came up with?
I remember seeing a lot of girls. One thing that one thought that comes to the top of my head is how busy we were. From the moment we opened till well after we closed, the table was full, which was really nice to see. So we created these wonderful circuits, but it really had this nice creative element to it where the girls got to jump in and visualize their idea, which I think is a really valuable part to seeing yourself in this role that you want to be in, whether it's the didn't the violin lawyer also want to be an opera singer? So it was really neat to see them draw themselves. I remember this one girl who wanted to be an artist, and she drew this lovely picture of her, painting this beautiful painting and an easel over this field, and it was nice to see her visualize herself like that and then bring it to life. So I felt like there was this real sweet spot between the creative element and this technology of bringing their idea to life, and they did it all. They did the drawing, they did the circuit laying, where they laid the traces, they understood about obviously how to make that circuit, and then kind of the back end, when it didn't work or if it didn't work from the start, they had an opportunity to troubleshoot it, which is nice to see them really follow through, because it makes the success that much sweeter. So I think there was a lot of really good things that were happening at the table, and clearly from the pictures it's obvious that the girls loved what they made. So it was very, very inspiring day.
Cool.
You know, my favorite part was that there were so many tie-ins between all of the partner and activities that we had. So from getting them really involved with paper circuits at your table and then sending them on to solder, they were like, oh, I know this paper circuit thing. I've already got that. So, you know, they really got to see how some of their little skills that they'd learned in one place would help them out at another place. And I love the angle where at your paper circuit table, you were having them draw things out and really visualize themselves. I love that. And then having them get to go and talk to April Chu, the illustrator, and see how that could really, how that has really driven her career. It was really great. And I forgot to throw in the final numbers for the day. We actually had over 1,000 girls coming out that day. So it was super awesome.
Wow. Well,
actually,
so cool.
It was girls and their families.
That's so cool what you say, that there was like that circuitry flowing between all of the partners and not even planned, right? Like that just all happened. It's really cool. Anything else from the day before we move on?
You know, one last comment. It was nice to see girls of all ages attempt all of these different workshops and hands-on activities. You know, we had like really young girls as well as women, you know, who had never done this. One of the moms of one of the girls at the table was trying to understand the and versus or circuit, and once she got it, she was able to then explain it to her daughter, and she wanted to create this elaborate and or circuit. And it was really neat because she was so excited to explain that to her daughter, and I felt like we inspired a family. So it was more than just inspiring the girls. It was really inspiring to the women, and clearly they hadn't been exposed to this either. So I feel like there was a lot of learning all around.
I love it.
And you bring up a really good point about inspiring the whole family, because a lot of events like this, sometimes, you know, you take the girls out of their normal ecosystem or their support system and you take them to an event like this. But for us, we really, really wanted them to come with their families and have their entire families, like their brothers, their other sisters, their friends, their parents, really understand what it was all about and figure out how they can all be a support ecosystem for each other at home.
Cool. Yeah, I think we had one mom who was there with her son, and he kind of came up and got distracted, but she stayed and designed her own, like all on her own for a while, which was really cool. So it's great for grown-ups too. I really enjoyed my process, and it was just great to see the diversity of the girls' dreams too. You guys will probably remember the Navy SEAL. She was one of our very first ones. This girl who was about 10, who was totally driven on her goal already to be a Navy SEAL. She knew exactly what she needed to do and study to get there, and just to, like, we had another little girl that wanted to be a marine biologist, so she thought about, well, I need to study really hard and I want to pursue this path in school, but I also need to play in the ocean, so she needed to kind of think about all the places she needed to prepare for that goal. So really, really wonderful.
Yeah, I want to just chime in, and I think it's absolutely great that the whole family was coming in. It made me think of one of the other reasons why it's so important to get girls doing the STEM activities, but maybe why it's also important, if we can, to have the girls doing the STEM activities in the same places where the boys are. And that's because it's not just about changing the attitudes of the girls, it's about changing the attitudes of their moms, their dads, their brothers, and the other boys, so that when they go into the workplace, there are men in there who are saying, yes, of course you're an engineer. That's not surprising. And we need a whole societal shift. And I think that that's having moms saying, yeah, that's a great thing, my daughter should do that, is really good. The other thing about the tech is it was wonderful to see all the brilliant things that those girls were expecting to do with their lives. And it made me wonder whether that reflected the kind of people who knew about the tech and made it there, and whether therefore are a bunch of other people who weren't making it to the tech and getting those opportunities, who maybe are the ones that we need to kind of find another way to reach.
Yeah, so it was kind of a mixed recruiting bag. So we did a lot of transportation and busing down from certain service areas, so we provided free admission and free transportation and free lunch for targeted underserved audiences. But then we also had our normal visitorship, so it was a very mixed environment, and we'd love to engage with a lot more community partners on helping to figure that out again for the next event, March 13th, because we have more money and we can send in way more buses. So if you just want to book some field trips for these girls to come down, get in contact with me and we'll make it happen.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the diversity on all levels there, and especially the boys thing is really important, because this is so not a girls only, no boys allowed club in this creativity club, and I think while more boys might be drawn to STEM subjects on their own, and they might, if we're not bringing in the creative side, they might just kind of go through the logical side and have an okay experience with it. But if they too can tap into the creative side with the logic and tap into both sides of their brain and the design thinking and the vision building and really bring that to their lives, they're going to be able to take away such a richer experience. It'll be such a much more transformative experience for them too. So I think the boys are only going to benefit from all of this as well. The girls are just kind of helping us see what we need to bring in to kind of pull everybody in a little bit deeper into these kind of profound experiences. All right. Well, I know you guys all have some wonderful projects and strategies to share just from your experience in working with girls in STEM. I'd love to kind of turn things over to everybody just for a few minutes, maybe about 4 or 5 minutes each, where you can share, if you have any pictures or video you can share, or you can just talk whatever you have. But in your sharing, if you can kind of highlight a project that our viewers can jump into and try with their girls at home or wherever they work, at their schools, at their museums and libraries, and really as you're going through, try to highlight if there are any key strategies that you found, like any experience that I'm trying to create to pull girls. They love it when, they love this part of it. I'd love to hear from all of you in terms of, like, what are the essential components of a really amazing experience that you found the girls just can't resist.
I'll jump in. Can you hear me? I'm never sure.
Yes.
Yes, okay, good. I don't have videos and pictures because they are on my computer that died, so sorry about that. For me, what's worked best with girls is allowing them to engage in just STEM projects that are totally open-ended and girl-driven and passion-driven. We often joked in Tech Girls and in other projects that it's the pink and glitter brigade, but that's not necessarily the truth. But you have to make it an option that it can be the pink and glitter brigade. For me, my all-time, hands-down favorite project with STEM and making in girls is rapid prototyping of their Maker Faire projects or any type of end unit project, a large project taking their initial brainstorm and design thinking design from paper to a physical object is really empowering. And by rapid prototyping, I mean a table full of recycled material supplies, everything from cardboard and bottles and ratty stuffed animals and material and fabric, and allowing them to really bring their designs to life. And you give them a short time frame, an hour or less to get it done. It's not about expertise. It's not about anything other than modeling what they want to build. The first time I did this with a group of 32 girls from Hoover Middle School and Willow Glen Middle School down in San Jose, and they had really just dove into the Maker Faire project, but they had never seen what their ideas could be, and I don't think they actually believed that they were going to build them. They had the ideas, they had the passion, but they didn't really seem connected to their project. They did these rapid prototypes, and all of a sudden Maker Faire was real for them. They felt like, I can build this, I can build anything. So rapid prototyping is my #1 recommendation. It's creative, it's open-ended, it's allowing girls to demonstrate their design from start to finish. So.
Well, and Sam, I actually have one of my favorite pictures of a girls project. One of the coolest girls I've ever met was one of your tech girls at Maker Faire who did the friendship unicorn. So I actually have her on my desktop. So let me throw her up there for you.
That's my favorite project ever.
Isn't it amazing? So, why don't you share a little bit more about that one? I will never forget it.
This group of girls, the friendship unicorn, they knew from day one that they were making a friendship unicorn, and that was it. And then it was how does the friendship unicorn actually work? Oh, look at the tech girls. Oh, they also dressed as unicorns because, again, they're girls. Oh, that's our table at our first Maker Faire. So friendship unicorn was really, really powerful. It was a totally self-built stuffed animal that had circuitry built in. So when it would hug its hands together or hug another stuffed animal, it lit up. Its horn lit up. I'm sorry. Its beautiful unicorn lit up. And this was, they probably put 200 hours into this project, and it looked like nothing more than a sort of Frankenstein unicorn prototype. It was amazing, but it worked, and it was fantastic and powerful, and they loved it. I'm so glad you have that picture. That was the one I selected too, and I'm like, you have to see it to understand.
You do, and didn't they 3D print the horns? And I mean, it was amazing.
They 3D printed the horn. They soldered that thing 20 ways to Sunday. We went through more solder on that project than you can imagine. It was a real testament. There was 5 girls in that group, ranging in age from 11 to 14, and that was a special project. It was.
I love it.
So I'll tell you a little bit about. I teach a couple of different STEM classes for girls, but over the course of the past 2 years, I've been working with the same group of girls because they keep each semester they keep enrolling, and it's been really nice to see how they've been growing, and really their lives have kind of been enriched by the process of getting exposed to STEM. And one of the things that is definitely required is to make it fun. I mean, that's kind of the if you don't have a fun foundation, then you're going to lose 99% of your girls. So I would say fun is the first thing, and then making it very hands-on and very open-ended, but not so open-ended where they don't feel like they can come up with a solution. So for example, one of the projects that we did in the class was to create a golf course. And some of you know that I was part of the development of Urban Putt, which is a crazy indoor mini golf course in the Mission. And so after showing them and telling them about this, they wanted to do it. So I turned them on to a huge bin of recycled pieces and parts, and they decided what they wanted to do. They drew some pictures, and then they jumped into fabrication. And it was really interesting to see not only what they wanted to do, but how they would execute on their design. And letting them go at it was amazing. You know, sometimes as adults, I think we see a very linear process, you know, one way of solving this problem. And it was nice to see them approach the problem in such a unique fashion that it kind of blew my mind how they decided they wanted to raise the ball, and they felt like they could do it this way, and when it didn't work quite the way they wanted, they figured other solutions. And so it was really, you know, having that open-endedness is very valuable in kind of building their tools for how they want to execute their own designs and get their creative brain thinking and make them solve their own problems. So.
Very cool. I think after this we should totally keep the conversation going and go to Urban Putt. Love that place. And everyone watching should come.
It's a lot of fun.
I really love the focus on solving problems, and that's often where I start whenever we're working with girls, because we've found that having them find a project or a problem that is most relevant to them keeps them really excited and engaged because they're solving it for themselves in some ways. And sometimes it starts out as like a fun, simple project, just so that they can see what they can do. But it also sometimes starts out as having them kind of brainstorm their own bug list. And one of my favorite bugs to give as an example, something that like bothers you, is in my camp days, one of the projects that we used to do is to redesign your peanut butter jar, because most peanut butter jars are terrible. You get to the end and you have like these little bits of peanut butter stuck in all these stupid crevices, and you get your hand all smeared with peanut butter, and everyone encounters this problem if they're trying to get the last bits of peanut butter out. So in thinking about that as both an example bug, but also a problem you can totally solve, to have them create a prototype of what their own awesome peanut butter jar or tube or whatever it might look like could be, is a great way to start. And then we've seen through so much of our work amazing projects come out of their like kind of individual inspirations. One of the girls that has come to Maker Faire for many years was on a summer adventure trip with her family, and one of the things that she was doing was exploring caves, and she wanted to know what was in that dark crevice in the cave, but recognized that she wouldn't be able to crawl in herself or didn't want to disturb any of the actual structure of the cave. So she created a cave mapper, which is actually a robot with sensors that's able to dive in really closely. Kind of amazing. That's sort of a very high goal, but was something totally based on her own interests. We've also had girls see that it's totally easy to create furniture for yourself by using cardboard or fabric, things like that. So it kind of introduces them to the idea that they could be a carpenter or engineer or a mathematician, starting with really simple materials, and that's been a fascinating start too. And one of my favorite projects, which you might think as very girl traditional, is we had a pair of sisters, and the younger sister created a light-up prom dress for her older sister. Aww. And sewed the whole thing, and had to think about material science, like how the material moves, how it flows, how tight the stitches are. She clearly had to do a lot of math and calculation. And because prom is typically dark, she felt like, hey, why not have it light up? So there was a lot of circuitry and intricacy in there as well. So those are some of my favorites.
Very cool. Do you have a picture of that prom dress?
I do. Hold on. Let me see. I'm trying to figure out screen share. Okay. 1 second. This is her showing off her prom dress.
Oh, nice.
So you can see she created like a bodice out of duct tape, because why not? And then that was fit exactly to the dimensions or the measurements of her sister. And she went through many iterations. She actually drew this out originally on paper as part of kind of like a fine arts project. And this was still a work in progress that she showed off at Maker Faire last year. And you can see some of the LEDs and things that are lighting up in there as well. So it's super neat.
Gorgeous.
Well, I actually have a couple slides, but I'm not sure how we put them up, how to share them. But I wanted to show a few of the projects that I've had girls doing.
If you kind of put your cursor towards the screen to the left side, you'll see some icons, and the green one with the arrow is screen share.
The green one. Okay, I'll do that then. Let's see.
So click that, and then when you're done, click it again.
Okay. So, well, let me play with it a while, and somebody else can talk.
So at the Tech, we do a lot of engineering design activities, and of course we grumble every time we hear somebody overhearing, oh, it's an engineering activity, let me go grab your dad, right? So we try to disguise our engineering activities sometimes as really fun, awesome, cupcake-oriented activities. Because normally when the boys see the activity, they're like, yeah, totally, I'm going to do this. But then it's always a little harder to get a girl engaged in a project that's labeled like an engineering activity, blah, blah, blah. And I don't have any of our cupcakes within reach, but I wanted to talk about one activity that we do. It's really similar to the wind-powered contraptions we did on Girls' Day. But I have this, which is sort of represents the activity because it's a wind-powered pinwheel. But we actually, you've probably seen or done the activity in different iterations. It's basically you design a wind-powered vehicle to carry some sort of payload, and then you have a fan and a test track as the testing station, right? But it's called a lot of different things, but in the way that we do it at the Tech, we often call it cupcake delivery, and we frame it around the design challenge of you need to deliver cupcakes to all the hungry beachgoers. So we make it very environmental. You have like a little beachy scene, or you have like a background of like going through the city in your cupcake mobile, and then we 3D print these tiny little pink cupcakes, and we have them of varying weights. So you have to figure out a way for your device to also carry the cupcakes without spilling them all out. And then we just layer on more cupcakes if they are very successful in the beginning. Echoing a lot of the things that everyone else does is like simple materials, very familiar materials, so that it feels very approachable, but also making it very fun and adding that kind of whimsical approach to make them feel more playful, inclusive, and who doesn't love cupcakes, right?
I love cupcakes.
Yes, and then always backing it up at the end and saying like, wow, you were an engineer today. You were solving problems and helping them to re-envision themselves as that cupcake delivery engineer.
I love it.
Well, I got it to work, so hopefully you can all see.
Yes.
And I have a couple examples of some of the projects that girls have come up with for the Maker Faire, and I actually wanted to mention some of the ways that those have really impacted them. So for instance, the girl up in the pink tank top, Campbell, this was from 4 years ago, and she wanted to help convince other girls to solder, so she was making soldering irons that were embedded into fun little toys. Like that's an elephant right there that has the trunk is a soldering iron.
Nice.
Because she felt everybody should want to solder. She's now working on some science projects where she's doing stream studies on a pretty high level for her middle school science project. The girl with the light up dress, which took lots and lots of LED work. And she at the Maker Faire got to work, meet some designers of fashion and who were doing LED soft circuitry, and be in a fashion show with them and exchange business cards. And they wanted her to work with them. So it really can lead to some great things. This next slide, here are some of the different skills that I see girls working on in their projects. And all of them, particularly the power tools, they tend to be a little hesitant to begin with, but the excitement and the joy they have then when they discover how much they can get done with power tools is wonderful. And in my classes, soldering, we have a saying that it's a compliment you solder like a girl, because the girls just solder better than the boys do. They gain the ability to sit and do that fine motor skill much earlier than the boys do. So if a boy solders well, he'll say, "Oh, I solder like a girl." and they really pick it up quickly. So that's a wonderful thing. And then these are two. There's a couple projects that have been really great. One was one of my teams wanted to become mermaids basically and make themselves a working mermaid tail. And after a lot of engineering and material science and testing prototypes that failed in the water, they succeeded and got to bring that to Maker Faire. And that was a very, very popular among all the girls at Maker Faire when mermaids were there. They were surrounded by many, many young girls who wanted to be mermaids, and some older girls who wanted to be mermaids.
I'm so glad the Mermaid Makers made it, and they also came and were they were in our Meet the Makers talks for Open Make Wearable Tech, and they blew away all the grown-ups.
Yeah, they were pretty amazing. One of the pieces of advice that one of their moms gave, if you're trying to get kids to really get into being engineers and making things, was to let them be bored. Give them materials, but let them be bored. And I think that's true. I know from my own growing up that having time where I was being bored, so I had to find my own creativity, was actually a very useful thing. And then Team Recycled House, they're, I think, a great example of a girls often do have that problem-solving interest, and this was very true of Team Recycled House and of several of the other girls' teams I've had, where they went into it with a real-world problem they wanted to come up with a real-world solution for, and put a great deal of work into that. And I've had a lot of other structures and boats are two areas that I've seen a lot of girls have an interest in designing and working with, structures and boats of different kinds.
I just really wanted, since you were talking so much about how awesome girls are soldering, are at soldering, I don't know if you saw my team's shirts that day, but we designed these shirts specifically for the girls at the tech day, and I just really wanted to show that to you. Hold on.
I remember those shirts, and they were wonderful. You should definitely show them to everybody. But I think soldering is a skill that girls, when they do it, they really enjoy it, and it's not taught enough.
Prinda, I'm surprised you're not wearing your shirt today.
Somebody else can go. Oh wait, okay. Wait, can you see my... Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties at the tech.
I have a quick, I wanted to share a little bit about the Deeper Paper Circuitry project of 21st Century Notebooking. So do you want me to jump on while you're looking for that real quick?
Yes, go for it.
So I'm going to screen share. I just have a whirlwind tour of fun visuals to show you guys while I share a little bit more about this wonderful project. So let's go back here. All right, let's get down here. So 21st century notebooking is this really cool combination of things for me because it combines, it combines math and literacy and all of these, science, technology, but really a lot of like craft and code. And I'm realizing I love things that bring those things together. And that seems to be really great for boys and girls, but especially for the girls with the creativity side. So just some really cool kind of ways all of a sudden you can make this very visual, very artistic. It's a great way to bring in the art, I think, between kind of the pictures that you design, but even the copper circuits themselves, to me, turn out to just be gorgeous. So people are getting super creative with their notebooks. The idea behind the notebooks is kind of I think one of the reasons why it's really fun and attractive for girls is that you get to really express. A lot of you guys talked about kind of your personal, your passion-driven projects, and people get to, when you think about a notebook, whether it's Leonardo's notebook. I have a couple examples here. This was J.K. Rowling's, Frida Kahlo. So artist, scientist, engineer, whatever is your passion, a notebook is just this blank space to explore that and share it and start prototyping and turning your dreams into reality. So there's something powerful about that notebook piece and kind of pulling it together with the paper circuitry. You can start to kind of tell these stories. Really capture your innovation process for whatever you're making, whether it's a friendship unicorn or a mermaid tail. So these are some of the the simple materials that go into this. One of the things I love about these LED, the Chibitronic circuit stickers, are amazing, and I just recently learned that chibi means cute. And that's one thing that I love about the new wave of technology is it's getting really cute. And now that so many girls are into it and aesthetics are becoming more and more important. So I think that helps for me personally. You can kind of develop these little microcontrollers in here to code the circuits once you go. I'm not going to show much of this video, but this is Chi, who has inspired this whole wave of gorgeous paper circuitry. And let's see if my video plays. You can kind of get a sense for just the artistic side of this. It really develops the artistic and expressive expertise along with the technical expertise. She's got these beautiful dandelions that just boom, and obviously there's tons of circuitry behind all of this, and sensors and such. Later in the video, you can kind of see the she goes up and actually blows on it to trigger it. So I don't think we have time to share the whole thing, but that gives you an idea. It's really gorgeous. And this is another example of both the technical and artistic expertise with this Tide notebook where they've used the copper tapes. This is Natalie Freed, who's also worked with G at the MIT Media Lab. And she's lined up these rows of LEDs in these wave-like patterns. And this notebook actually pulls in data from the internet, so visually they can see at any moment the real-time data of where the tides are up near the bays in San Francisco. So it's really cool to think about ways to kind of get to design your own data interface and figure out how you want to experience data in the world. So just a little bit more on the notebooking. So Prinda, do you have your fancy shirt up yet? Well, I've lost Prinda. Can you guys see Prinda?
I think she's just keeping us in anticipation.
I was going to say she's going to come back, and I know she's going to be wearing the shirt.
Yeah, she's changing.
Did you have any luck, Prinda, finding that?
Okay, it seems like every single time I try to share my screen, the browser crashes. So I'll just have to email it afterwards. Anyway, it's okay. So it's like a helping hand. Like, you know what, you use the helping hands when you solder. So it's like a very vectorized version of a helping hand. And underneath it says, "It takes a helping hand, #girls who solder." It's the best shirt ever.
I love
So
it.
how do we get one, Prinda? How do we get one?
So we printed it on or we cut them out on our vinyl cutter and then and screen printed them onto our own shirts. But I have I made the files, so I can send you the files. So if you have your own ability to print out the shirt transfer stuff, you can make your own.
I love it. Well, let's all make our shirts, and then we'll go to our Urban Putt celebration, where we can celebrate one of the coolest creative passion-driven projects I've ever seen. Well, I really love that shirt too, because it plays up this like the science, technology, and creativity, but also the community, which is so important for all of us being part of this. I know it's one of my favorite parts is getting to design alongside all of you and amazing people like all of you. So thank you. Does anybody have any closing thoughts? We're getting close to the end of our time here, but before we wrap up, is anybody dying to share?
I'll just say that I love participating in these types of discussions because the more educators like us who are out there talking about girls in STEM, the more programs that are offered. You'd be surprised at the lack of girls in STEM programs at tech camps across the Bay Area. They're just not there in the rate and the amount we should see. You know, hearing you all share today, it reminds me of why we do this. You know, their voices matter. They matter as much as boys, and they don't often feel that way with STEM right now. So we're just going to go forth from this, right, and continue to do our programs. And having these discussions and inviting other people to hear this is going to make it matter more. So thanks for doing this.
Cool. Thanks for making it matter.
And I really wanted to plug our next Girls at the Tech Day, Sunday, March 13th. It's going to be a focus on engineering careers. We'd love to have many more partners, so everybody's invited to come and partner. We only took over the lower level and parts of the ground level this time, but we should have everything open in the spring, and so we're trying to fill up the entire museum. So more partners, more girls support, yay!
I think it's important to know and make sure girls know that the world is their oyster and they can do anything. And there's so many resources available, and if you can't find it, we're happy to help you find them. You know, we're here to not only support all the girls out there, but also serve as role models and really help any girl in any way that we can. So reach out to us, and we'll do what we can do.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, everyone. And I don't know if we'll get to see some of you out there. We're going to be back at the Tech tomorrow. I'll just throw out there doing a educator workshop on paper circuitry. So the first part, and then we'll follow up with programming in January. So we'd love to see any of you there as well. And excited to be back at the Tech and hopefully back for more Girls' Day action next year.
Yay.
So thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks, Bridget.
You too, Bridget.